Welcome to Tech Simplified, and today we're continuing the Women in Tech conversation, the series. I am beyond excited to welcome Denise Holland to the latest episode of the Women in Tech show. Denise is an experienced senior technical program manager with an impressive 26 plus years in the IT industry. Expertise shines in areas like network acceleration, process improvement, cross-functional team collaboration. Denise has a proven track record of managing complex programs from start to finish, championing strategic visions, fostering a culture of continuous learning and innovation. Her ability to blend technical know-how with business savvy has delivered powerful engineering projects and have paved the way and breakthroughs in cloud infrastructure. I'm so excited. And that's only the tip of the iceberg. So Denise, thank you for being a part of the show. And anything else you want to add on that before we get started?
First, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me here today. It's a wonderful opportunity to speak about women in tech. I think you have to have passion to have been at this for as long as I have. Started out just being curious and now working in the AI space, working on process improvement. You're learning something new every day. So it's a good place to be.
That's great. And this kind of goes right into our first question. It's great to take a look at your LinkedIn and see where you are today. But can you give us the background, the journey to your first role? Because the reason why I ask that, the audience is usually college students early in their career or maybe transition to mid-career who I usually focus on. Can you share that a little bit and how you got started to where you are today?
Goodness, that started in the mid 90s. I was working in a law firm, and one of the partners came up and said, I hear that we need to back up our documents. And I'm not quite certain what that is, but if this computer goes down, all of the files are lost. Can you figure out how to do that? Okay. So I took a class. I figured it out. I started backing things up. Then they're like, we need to upgrade our operating system software. Do you know how to do that? No. But I went and I figured it out. And then I was like, you know what? I think I like doing the computer stuff more than I like doing the legal stuff. I went back to school. I got my Novell certification. I got my MCSE, and I applied for my first systems engineering position at a law firm. And that's how it all got started.
That's pretty cool, right? I like the phrase you use, figure it out. I feel like that's the story of my life. I don't know something. Am I willing to figure it out, right? Am I willing to put the time in? And then I also liked how you said, all right, I know I went down this path in the legal, but I think I got something here with technology. Let me double down and go back to school and just make sure I learn it. So I thought that was pretty cool because I was going to ask you your educational path. And so when you went back to school, was it an IT degree? What type of degree did you get?
It was actually an IT degree. So my undergraduate and my graduate degree are in information systems. I had started and I was like, okay, I think I want to go into legal. We'll see what's going there. Maybe I can work as a paralegal, figure out if I want to go to law school, go from there. They kept coming to me asking me about computer related things, backups. We need to update Office. We need to update Windows. We've got this thing called PC Docs that manages our document system, Lotus Notes. This is way back. This is old school. And they kept coming to me. And I went to my partner and I said, I can do this full time, but I'm going to need some help. They helped me get certified. And then when I was interested in something, I drew up a proposal and they usually approved it. So that's what's been helpful. Once I realized that I enjoyed it and I was able to pick it up quickly, then I was like, I need to make certain that I'm adding value. So whenever I saw an opportunity, I'd be like, have you thought about this? What do you think about that? And then they would let me run with it. I did have some good fortune there.
And I love the phrase again. That was another the mic drop phrase, adding value. I think if you're listening right now, think about when you interviewing from an internship or for your first job or next job, what value are you going to bring? What's some new ideas you can bring? How are you going to use that? Don't be afraid to share those because that's what companies like. That's how you grow a little bit faster. And one thing, you went from doing backups and today you're literally in charge of building full data centers. So how did you go from there, starting off in legal firm? And I know it's a long career, but how did you get the courage to start building out data centers?
That was something I accidentally stepped into. So after I worked as a systems engineer for law firms. I then got my top secret clearance and I did some work with the government. That's when I got into virtualization. And so that was, gosh, I feel much older than I am, but this is when Citrix came into play.
Yeah.
VMware, Microsoft was just doing its hypervisor, which eventually became Azure. Did some networking, and then I realized we kept getting projects from program managers, and I'm like, you don't really understand the dependencies and the risk that are associated with the technology. Not that you're not a very good PM, but you do need to understand the technical details. You can't put out a schedule. You can't say we're definitely going to hit this date if you don't understand the technology that you're building. So I applied for a position as a project manager and I got the job. We created a PMO. So we had structure. We're like, all right, we were all previously in some sort of technical role. And we created, a baseline schedule, an accelerated schedule. We figured out risk register, and we were able to reasonably reproduce what our schedules were based on the type of deployment we were doing. And so that was a really good time. And then I just got lucky and I wound up at Amazon. So it's been timing. So
Yeah.
being curious, having a love for technology, trying to figure out, well, what can I do, as I said previously, to add value. Being a woman of color, especially coming up in IT in the 90s, I was the only person in the room. And so to set yourself apart and to be seen as valuable, you had to step up and go, I know I can do this, and you deliver it. It's not being cocky, it's just being assertive, knowing what your skill set is and delivering that. And so that's been the whole thing the whole time. It hasn't been necessarily easy, but I've done a lot of really good things.
Oh yeah. And I know you're very humble. Lucky is there, but it was a lot of hours of sacrifice and studying and pushing yourself that is there too. So luck will play a part. Like a lot of the roles I got, I've been in the right place at the right time, but I prepared myself for the opportunity. I stayed up later. I studied. I went to go network instead of playing some games like we talked about earlier, right? Offline, right? I forced myself there, but then when the opportunity arises, I was ready for it. Right now, you might be studying and might not be seeing the payoffs, but when the opportunity comes, you will be ready. So many times, I'll give you an example in my career where I didn't do the work, right? I remember I was supposed to teach myself Python. Never did. Now, later in my career, one of the things I want to do for the next role, you need to learn Python. But I didn't put the time in there. So I didn't get that role. So I can't be upset that I didn't get the role because I didn't dedicate the time. So if you're there right now, that's what I want you to let you know is there will be an element of luck because we can't define everything. But you also got to do a little bit of work to get you there, to be prepared for the opportunity. I know you were at Amazon, now you're at Microsoft. Can you
Yes.
talk a little about, can you share like a day in the life? And also some things I want to share is, can you explain what a data center is for people who don't know? I know what it is, but sometimes people don't know what data center is or PMO, you use that acronym. They might not know what that means. Can you take a little bit of time to give us that 100 level? And I'll put the notes into my show notes for everyone. If you want to go learn more about it, I'll find some links for you to just dive in a little bit deeper.
Before we get in that, what I wanted to say
Yeah.
to folks that are watching that might be early in their career or mid-level or even at my level,
Yeah.
know your superpower. Sit down and do a self-assessment. Figure out the things that you're good at. Figure out the things that you really enjoy. Think about the things that you don't consider work, that you just enjoy doing. Those are the things that you're good at. You're going to find classes, you're going to find mentors, you're going to find networks, podcasts. Focus on that stuff. If you do see a position that you like to apply for, think about how your superpowers are going to just excel at that position, how you're just going to be a rock star. When you go into those interviews and you see those things that align with your superpowers, speak to it. Ask if they have current problems. Think about how you might solve that problem even before you get to the team. The most they can say is no. That's the most they can say.
Yeah.
You have a skill set and you have value, and you just need for people to see that and support that. So just get out there and do it. Data centers are very cool places if you're
Yeah.
a geek like me. Data centers are just facilities that house rows and rows of server racks. These server racks connect into network rows. And then your network road connects you to a regional gateway that puts you out into the internet and connects you to other places. And at Microsoft, we have various data centers in the Americas, EMEA, and APAC, and they're based near our customers. And so if a customer has a need to stand up an environment, they'll connect in. I'm here in Virginia in the internet backbone. So you can connect to a variety of different sources when you just log on to your actual workspace. That workspace is one of the data centers that Microsoft has throughout the world. A project management office is where another one of the things that I enjoy, which is process improvement. If you want to be able to have OKRs that you can track to, so your objectives and key results, or whatever your success criteria is, you need to have a process that's repeatable. If you've got 5 PMs, program managers, and they're all doing 5 different things, are you really hitting your goals? If you've got some high level thing that says, okay, there are 20 different things you need to do for this project, but at a high level, we need to ensure that we at least do these 5 things the same way. And so a project management office is one where we sit down, we think about process improvement. What's going to make us more effective? What's going to help us scale if we need to accelerate a project? How do we address risk? How do we address issues? Things of that sort. And that's what my current role is, process improvement for our network deployment. So I used to deliver the network deployments, and now I'm like, we could probably do this a little bit better, or maybe we need to stop doing this, or maybe we need to circle back around and communicate to this team when this action is done. It's just one of those things of what can we do to be better?
That's great. Thank you for the thorough explanation. You tied everything together pretty well. So this dives in right to my next question. We talked about it a little bit. What drives your passion? Because to do all of that has to be a lot of stress, because the data center is at the backbone of Azure or AWS. So if you don't get it right, there's no room for error. So how do you keep yourself motivated to be in one of those? From my opinion, it looks like high stress. So how do you get excited about that? What about that gets you up every morning just to keep going back and doing it and just being really great at it?
Because you're offering a service and you're offering a great service. I live here in Virginia, and when I worked at Amazon, I built data centers. And I'll drive through the neighborhood and I'll remember, I know that data center. They're nondescript, you don't know. So unless you built it or what it is, but there's physically you can see your work. But then when you look at stock prices, we're doing well, we're keeping up. When you see things like Copilot, when you hear about AI supercomputing, when you hear about things like that, you're like, I had a part in that. And that right there is motivating. So this has been a really short period. The team that I'm on now, we formed last summer of 2023. And we're already trying to figure out how to keep up with demand, because people want supercomputing, they want AI, they want Copilot. So we need to figure out, how do we build faster, smarter, better? And so that right there is motivating, because you're like, we're supplying much needed capacity to our customers.
It's great. And I see where you connected back to this, the impact, right? The impact of your work. It's an assignment, like, because you see and like, all right, Azure is #1. Why is it #1? The uptime. You like, I played a part in that. I worked with a team that did that. That's pretty cool. And I want to bring that back to the audience now. So if you're looking at these jobs, you look challenging, start thinking about it, what the impact you could have of it. And then go back to what you said, I like to call that gap analysis. What in me likes to do that, right? What areas I might need to grow in, right? Look at a role as, it might be tough, but I'm going to grow here, and this is going to help me in different areas. Like, I know I want to be more analytical, so I took a little bit more of a technical role early on. Now I realize I want to be more strategic. I took a strategy role where I need to work with others to get things done. And then when you see those things get created, it's really fulfilling. Or someone like me who likes to talk, who likes to create. My roles allows me to be the project manager in a way. I'm the strategist. I bring in my engineers. We solve the problem collectively. So that's something for me who likes to help. I like to get to teach. I get to do trainings, right? This YouTube channel is another way for me to share with the world, helping and teaching and training through stories. So again, this, like, when people are like, how do you do YouTube with working at Microsoft and being a dad? I'm like, these are all things that's fun for me. I've been a nerd or a geek my whole life, man. I've been building computers forever, right? So for me to get a job to talk about computers and AI. This is to me just fun. So they're like, how do you spend all this time studying, Sly? You're taking these certifications. I'm like, first of all, certifications are structured learning. I'm just learning how to learn, right? It's fun. When you get good at something, you realize how much you don't know. There's so many things I just don't know. And to me, some people get overwhelmed. I just say, no, I can learn a little bit tomorrow. And I might not never get through all of this. That's the fun part about it. But that's for me. You got to find yourself. If you don't like to learn or like change, I don't know if tech is going to be for you. Because what I was really good at before, I was an HP server, I was a VMware engineer. Those things are now
Oh,
like
VMware.
I had a VP, like I think the VCP 5 and 6 had that back in the day.
Continuity planner, I did as well. So
Yep.
yes.
Yeah, I had those, right? I used to do Citrix, like with mobile devices. I did a lot of Horizon desktops, and that was cool back in the day. So that was my path before. Then I realized I need to learn security. Right? That was big. I learned that. Now I'm like, man, I took a job. I didn't know cloud, and I didn't do well in the job because I didn't know cloud. So I ended up having to go teach myself cloud. And now AI came. Man, I don't got a really strong data background. What does that mean? My network game is it's rough now. I don't know all the new stuff anymore. So I went back learning my network game, my data center game, a little bit of coding. Again, I'm not gonna be the best at all these things, but it's helping me stay relevant. But again, that excites me. I like to learn. That's cool. I also like to ask, what books or podcasts that inspire you? I know that's a general question. Let's narrow that down. When you first, what's some books that you would like to read if you had a chance to go back in the beginning of your career?
The first thing that comes to my mind, and I know it might seem a little bit cheesy, but one thing that I did appreciate, not a book or a podcast, but I took training from Dale Carnegie.
Okay, yeah.
And I found that to be very helpful. As a woman of color in IT in the mid 90s, it was tough. It was definitely tough. Even if you're a great communicator, you have great written and verbal skills, there were challenges. Dale Carnegie offered a lot of real world examples of how you can present yourself in the corporate world. And I appreciated that. I took the beginning course, the effective communications course, and their high-end presentations. And I leverage that today. One of our peers is someone that I think is awesome with leadership. His name is Abel Cruz, ABELCRUZ, and he is a PM within Microsoft. He gives great podcasts and lectures on leading without authority. And that is what you're essentially doing as a program manager. You've got an objective, you've got to get together a team. You're not the people manager of those people, but you've got to get them to align and buy in on what you're doing and then get them to finish the project. That is a skill. Joe Miller does a lot of leadership courses and podcasts and training. It is mostly directed at women, but again, I'll continue to say it is challenging for all of us out here to keep up with skill sets and change and all of that. But being a woman in IT is better today, but there's still going to be challenges. And I think that having that positivity, having that mindset, having that where you can go back and go, okay, this has happened. I'm going to process it. I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to keep moving. So those are things that I definitely go back to. Books, they're all technical books. It was always something where I got to get my MCSA, I got to get my MCSC. So I read it and I would go back to it. And people were like, you're already certified. And I'm like, I know, but I might need to reference something. Right now, I'm trying to get my Six Sigma certification. So right now, I'm all like DMAIC. So I'm all like define and measure and analyze and improve. I tend to go back and look at a lot of technical books. But I think inspiration is also important. I'm a big fan of Maya Angelou. Better do better. I think Michelle Obama is amazing. Our former president, Barack Obama, amazing. Those are the things that I go to for inspiration because you need to have that balance, that right and left brain.
That's great. So the reason why I looked away because I wanted to find a quote that I always used to share about Maya Angelou. And I can't remember. It's about grandmas almost pretty much and how they outlived us and what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it for the generation, right? So I'm a big poet person. Maya Angelou is like speaks to my soul. So I agree. I'm glad that you share that. One thing I also want to point out, for the people still listening is not only did Denise talk about hard skills, technical skills, think about she also shared a soft skill first, communication, that she still leverages to this day. She took that earlier in her career because as you go up the ladder, if you decide to, or if you go into more senior roles like principal roles or even leadership roles, your communication skills is what's going to help elevate. You still need to be technical, right? There's still need a technical aptitude that I think Denise is saying she continues to do to revisit because you got to go back to it because if you don't use it, cheesy, you lose it. So one book I would add on there that would help me is What Got You Here Won't Get You There. So when I was successful in college, I tried to take that to my first job. It didn't work. I'm a different place. I'm a different field. Same thing. When I switched jobs, I went from, and I learned this the hard way. I went from an individual contributor role to a director of product marketing role. I tried to be like I was an individual contributor role. I wasn't creating the project lines, the timetables. I wasn't creating the direction for the organization. I was still thinking it as I was in an organization who someone else defined it for me, and they were looking for me to define that. But it took me too long to pivot. So that opportunity didn't go according to plan. Luckily, life is learn along your way. Was you take? I try to take notes, and I'll use that to go forward. So that's a really good book that I would talk to. And another one is for me is never split the difference. Negotiation. Everything is, to me, I think you can negotiate pretty much anything in your life. Like when I negotiated my house or my toddler who wants extra TV time versus studying at work for my salary. So this was a skill that I knew I had to learn so it can help me, right? And even help others. So that was one. And then technically, yeah, mine's a little bit different. I try to learn stuff that's going to help me with my job today. And then I still got some other stuff I do outside. But like right now, I'm studying for the DP 900, the data fundamental cert. I want to get a really strong foundation of data because that makes up AI. If you want to learn AI, if you got terrible data coming in, you want to have data, you want to have terrible AI coming out. I want to learn. That's something I'm working on now. And then I'm also going to take my AI 102. So the Azure AI, I think is not an architect, administrator certification. That's my next one I'm working on. But Denise, this has been a great conversation, and I want to continue to talk to you because it's a breath of fresh air, and as you have so much information that I just love learning about. How can our audience continue to follow you or get in touch with you?
I am actually on LinkedIn, and so I am in as Denise K for Katrina Holland. I am at Microsoft. I'm located in the DC area. If you're local, if you're a DMV person, I try to get out and volunteer different things. The thing that I think that keeps me balanced is I spend my time working technically, but then I make a point to do something fun. I volunteer at Wolf Trap, which is the only national park that we have for the performing arts, and it's located here in Virginia. Trying to get Microsoft to sponsor so that we can build this up, but I'm definitely reachable. Right now, I'm mentoring 3 early in career PMs. I've been a people manager. Right now with AI, I think my focus needs to be as an individual contributor because there's so much to learn. And as you had mentioned earlier, I think learning things tactically helps you when you go into a strategic role because you've already been through that. It's because you've been in it, you can see the big picture. I would also agree that going and trying new things is also beneficial. I usually, within Microsoft, every 2 to 3 years, I'm looking for my next opportunity somewhere else I can add value. It's your story. Get out there and be bold and learn things. And as you said, negotiate. Think about what's going to be purely great for your team or your manager, what's purely great for you. Try to figure out something mutually beneficial in the middle that shows off your superpower, and you're going to be fine.
That was beautifully said. On that note, Sly Gittens and Denise Holland are out. Peace.